Hello.
Hey, Jen.
Hello.
Hello, Dick.
Hi.
I was wondering where everybody was. I've been all alone for 10 minutes.
I'm trying a different way of doing my meeting, and I'm not sure how well it's going to work. I used to do it on my iPad. I'm doing it on my computer this time.
Well, computers are easier than iPads.
I know that, but it's the lighting actually that I'm struggling with. So, plus I've not used it before, so I have to figure out how to use it.
Got it. Well, in the computer, everything's kind of on the bottom, where the iPad is more in different spots. Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
What's new?
Everything COVID. It's new every day.
Okay, that actually is now better.
I'm still trying to get my 83-year-old mom her shot in Pittsburgh, and that's not going well.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's is not cranking with coordinated shot efforts. It's an entire phone system, not computerized.
Yeah. That seems
So
like a
you-
bad idea.
Right, you just call and you're on hold forever.
Oh,
I gotta call her tonight and ask her if she's made any progress. We even went online and tried to coordinate helping her, but we're not having much luck there either.
yeah.
But our 75-year-old and older are doing great in Columbia, and now we're
Yeah.
at 65 and older, obviously. And
Yeah. I
But
can't
now
say
we're
enough good things about Bernadette. She was so helpful.
good. Yeah,
I
they've got
got
a
my
good
shot.
team.
I got mine last week through the health district. With Bernadette calling me and saying I had a leftover dose.
Oh, get up there now.
Yep.
Right, because we've set up where the health district calls Bernadette immediately if they have like 5 available, get down here.
Right. Yeah, I know the director of the health district, Rob Miller. And he said
Right.
some towns won't participate. They just don't want to be bothered with calling, I guess.
No, we're partnering with them really well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrific.
Oh, there's the real Beverly.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Brian.
Hi.
Hi there.
Garfunkel, come on. Hi, Brian.
How are you?
Now we need Ernie.
Is
Oh,
Lauren
that's
coming?
Who?
Lauren, the new person?
Yes. Yes,
Oh.
she would be coming.
Yes, Lauren.
We believe so. Now, how did Jeff get in? I don't remember entering, letting him in. He snuck in.
That's Jeff.
I wanted to give him a hard time.
Well, you can start.
You still doing your radio show? Jeff, they allow you in the radio studio? Oh,
Do we have a quorum yet? How much is a quorum?
4.
So we got 4.
Ernie's not coming?
We hope
Hey,
so.
Yeah, Ernie should be here. Why don't we wait a couple minutes more for Ernie?
Yeah, why, Mark? You want to go on the
Okay.
radio?
Hi, Kelly.
No, you need Stephen.
Why?
He's the voice of Columbia.
Yeah, but you'd be more fun to push facts at. Hard questions.
Here's Lauren.
Welcome to the meeting, Lauren.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll wait until 7:02, and then if Ernie doesn't come on, we can start without him.
He gives me a hard time. He gave me a hard time about being late. He can't be late.
Yeah, where the hell is
If
he?
he's late, we need to be worried.
Well,
Oh,
he
I
had,
agree 100%. Or if he doesn't show up, we need to be worried.
Yeah.
He did
Yeah,
have
so-
trouble last week with the fiscal policy, so.
right. We don't know what happened. He had challenges.
Is that you, Jeff?
That's my grandson. That, I put him outside with a beach ball the other day, and that's what he had for a face.
He's really cute, by the way.
I know, I don't.
Are
know
you
what
sure?
that-
Is he related to you?
Yeah, very distantly.
Okay,
Hello,
you
Kelly.
Yeah.
haven't heard from Ernie at all, right?
Mhm.
Okay, Kelly and
You
I,
You want me to call him?
yeah, why don't you give him a quick call and see what's going on? Maybe he's taking a nap.
You know, I make a motion, we dock his pay.
We could start with the preliminaries where Mark reads the rules and all of
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Kelly, we're both co-chairs. Do you want
Yep.
me to lead or do you want?
Why don't you do it, Dick?
Okay,
So we don't have two of us.
okay, we'll start. I'll call the meeting to order. Mark, you want to go over the rules and stuff?
Happy to, Dick. Rules of conduct for this virtual meeting. This is a web-based call. We will operate under the following procedures. This session is both video and audio recorded. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute, except when speaking or voting, and will generally keep their videos on themselves on throughout the meeting. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or the chair. The public input before the meeting, please email your comments to publicinput@columbiact.org within 24 hours before the meeting. For public input during the meeting, your comments should be submitted through the chat feature in Zoom, or wave your hand and request that the mic be unmuted. Please include during both methods your name and address.
I got a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mark, how do you manually eject somebody from this meeting? Wouldn't you electronically eject them?
Yes, that would be correct.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to point out the
But-
error.
My finger would have to manually trigger the
Yeah.
electronic ejection.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
Kelly's drinking on the job here.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start by welcoming Lauren Haberman to FIPAC. So we're very, very pleased to have you. Don't hesitate to speak up if you have questions or if you have comments. That's how this meeting works, and it's important that you participate whenever you feel a need to.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to, in order to read the agenda, I'm turning my light on, which is going to affect my picture, but don't worry about that. Okay, we've called to order.
Ernie's trying to get in. I sent him the link again.
Oh, hold on.
So
I don't
he is
see
going to
him.
come on?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll just wait for him a couple minutes.
Not yet.
Not more than a couple minutes.
Oh, no.
And by the way, as Lauren, as a new member, why don't we also just go around and introduce ourselves to Lauren? I'm Dick Zegda. I've lived in Columbia my whole life. I retired from working for the state in 2003. And I think FIPAC is one of the more important boards in Columbia. Judy?
Kelly Peck, you know me. Welcome, Lauren. We're glad to have you.
Judy?
Oh, I'm looking at the agenda, not at the pictures. Hi, I'm Judy Jordan, and I'm relatively new on the committee, but I have been in Columbia for 28 years. And welcome. We're very glad to have you.
And Jeff?
I'm gonna be difficult. Laura knows who I am.
Okay. And then do you know Mark Walter, who's the town administrator?
Hi, Lauren. I'm in my 5th year as the town administrator for Columbia, and it's a privilege, and I'll look forward to working with you.
And Bev, we're going around introducing ourselves, so it's your turn.
Okay, I'm Bev Sorella. I'm the finance director for the town. Been working there over 13 years, plus been living in the town for over 30. So, and have 4 kids, went through the school, so.
Okay, Jennifer, are you on?
I am.
Okay,
Hi.
Jennifer may be one of the most important people in town.
Hi, Lauren. We did talk on the phone, and my name's Jen Lavoy, and I'm the newbie here. I'm Mark's executive administrative assistant, and welcome.
Okay.
Dick, we forgot Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah, it skipped right over me. I know I don't blame you.
Ah,
No.
I'm sorry, that was stupid on my part.
Hey, Lauren, how are you? Welcome. I've been on the committee just the last budget cycle. It's fun. It's a lot to take in, but you'll, like Dick said, just speak up about anything, no matter how silly the question is. There really isn't. I remember took a little while to get caught up on line items and all the different things that you'll see. So just don't be afraid to raise your hand. Welcome.
Okay, Ernie's not on yet, so why don't we just proceed until he gets on, and then he can take over. So
And
next,
Bev, do you want to send him the dial-in number and ID code?
Bev, we can't hear you.
I sent him everything.
Okay, good.
I'm fine. I'm trying to follow up with him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next agenda item is approval of minutes for the meeting on January 20th. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Kelly?
I just wanted to correct number 7.1 in the minutes. It says that, I think it's just a typo that says Dick and I are the co-chairs. I think it should say that we unanimously agreed that Ernie should remain as the co-chair, as the chair, I'm sorry, and Dick and I are the co-vice chairs. That's the only difference.
That's a good point, so. Okay, Jennifer, can you make that change?
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Nope, make a motion that we accept the minutes,
As amended,
correct?
I'll second that.
All in favor, just raise your hand. Okay. The next agenda item is correspondence. Any, Jeff?
Let's see, special meeting minutes for the Board of Selectmen, February 9th. Section, come on, 7-1 all the way down, Stephen, under elderly services. This, I think it's supposed to be, this is an increase of, can somebody clarify that number? 1,0500. It's a typo or something going on there.
We'll fix that. I'm sure it's 1,500.
Oh, okay, 1,500.
Whatever the correct number is, we'll fix it.
Well, 1,050 is a lot different than 1,500.
Bev, do you know what it is?
Just curious.
I know it was, I thought it was 1,000 increase in gas, and I think
Which item is it again?
it was the increase in fuel versus the increase in vehicle repairs. So the 1,000 is correct for vehicle repairs. That went from 5,000 to 6,000.
Yep.
And fuel, I think, increased by
$500 instead.
I think it was
No.
1,000.
I think it was 1,000.
Okay, any other comments on the correspondence? Or
Yeah,
questions?
I'm not done, Dick.
Okay,
All right, down on capital budget. On the DPW capital equipment. It says John Deere zero-turn mower and forklift for the loader. Do we mean a set of forks for it?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, senior center furnishings and kitchen, an expenditure of 25,000 for the generator.
Correct.
Okay, when's it gonna open? The senior center? We have any opening dates planned for it?
Do you want me to answer that, Dick?
yes, go ahead.
The latest at the moment is once everyone 65 and older has their second shot. Bernadette's hoping to open everything in April. So we feel we'll have to go through definitely March and into April to accomplish that.
Okay.
And then there might be a soft opening as people 75 and older actually have their both shots. They might want to come in and just do pool and other limited things. But we're on that path finally.
Okay, now, the Coventry Volunteer Fire Department equipment. What size SUV are we buying? Is it gonna be a full-size Suburban that'll carry 6 guys or,
Yes,
okay, full size? Well, I think that's a smart move. Okay, let's see. Geez, and this is something that, we didn't get, but I know I talked with Jennifer about it earlier, and that was the, well, it's kind of under correspondence, but the draft minutes from the Board of Education, their special meeting, February 3rd. They're talking about a study to put air conditioning in the school. And I just think that's something should be on our radar. That could be a large purchase coming at us down the road. So I know they tabled the 25,000 for the feasibility study right now, but it could get pretty expensive if we decide to put AC in that school. So just want people to know that that's happening and on the radar. I got a whole pile of stuff. You can't let me read this stuff.
Why don't you go to the Board of Selectmen and bring that up with them?
Oh, I will. I can email all that to them and stuff like that. But, okay, well, I'll let that go. But I got some other things I think we should think about down the road. But I'll let you move on from this.
Okay, actually, one of the things you brought up, I have questions on, and that is opening the senior center. So, Mark, the goal is to open it pretty much fully once everybody has their vaccine shots? Both of
yes.
Are you still going to follow the guidelines like wearing a mask and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a good thing. I think
Yeah, I'm not-
there's enough isolation right now going on, and if we can have the senior center open, I think that'd be good for our community. So, okay, any other?
I have two questions. One is just, I saw a reference to an article about Alyssa Gwinnell leaving to pursue her doctorate. And I don't see any minutes from the Board of Education. Are they pursuing another full-time principal? Are we gonna have a conversation about that? Do you know, Mark or Bev?
Bev would know.
So they've started a principal search. So the woman, they used, what's her last name? The last name is Broderick. I think from CAVE, they've hired her again to assist them to find a full-time principal. So currently for the rest of the year, the assistant principal and the special ed director and the superintendent have split the duties.
She's already left?
She left in January. She gave about 2 weeks notice. I guess because the school district she's working in needed her right after Martin Luther King Day. Plus, she's also starting her doctorate program. So they agreed to release her from her contract and let her go.
Okay.
You guys done yet?
So
Right now, Kelly.
Hey,
Kelly.
Ernie,
Hey, Ernie.
He's listening.
we're gonna let you take over, even though you're late.
Ernie, welcome.
So
Hello.
Kelly, just to
And
circle
where we're
back on
at,
that,
where we're at, by the way, we were talking about just questions regarding correspondence. So you can take it over from that point.
Have you been running the meeting?
I've been running the meeting.
Yep.
Not as, nowhere near as good as you would have, but
No, go ahead, Dick.
you're the
Would you like
chairman.
to?
You should.
He's letting you do it tonight. Go, Dick.
Okay. Any more questions on correspondence?
I'd just like to bring up another question on the resolution for the appropriation of the Robertson parcel acquisition. We're gonna use $24,000 from the town's undesignated balance fund. What's the total purchase price?
That's under new business, Jeff. You're jumping ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Jeff, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. The next agenda item is old business, and I don't think we have any old business. The next agenda.
Well, there
Go
was,
ahead.
we were supposed to, in the prior minute said we were gonna have Joe Spurgeon come and talk to us about, I think about the healthcare issues.
Yeah.
Is that gonna happen? I mean, not that we have to have it this time, but, because it looks like there's a substantial increase and you've gone out to look for other healthcare. Is that what's going on with that, Mark?
Yes, we actually, the group, Thompson has left the group, which was our largest employer in the
Mhm.
consortium.
Okay,
As a result, we're no longer really big enough, so we've all gone out to bid. And we've had such large increases because most of the towns have had very big claims. And for being small towns,
Mhm.
you know, each town with a couple $1 million claim, you know, those super claims really hit you hard. So Joe was gonna talk to us tonight, but we felt it'd be better to wait till we go. Actually, the results from going out to bid will be in shortly.
okay.
And then I believe we'll bring Joe back to both the Board of Selectmen and 5PAC, maybe even a joint presentation. Bev, anything to add to that?
No, hopefully we'll know some more by next week and then we can start planning when to let everybody know.
Okay, thank you, guys. That was it.
New business. The first item is the 5PAC membership, and Mihir Patel resigned. And we have a new member, Lauren Haberman. And Ernie, before you came on, all of us introduced ourselves to Lauren. So Lauren, the guy on the screen now is Ernie, the chairman, someone who we could not function without at this point in time. He's an awesome chairman. So,
Making me blush.
Lauren,
Welcome.
Lauren, are you on?
Lauren, could you unmute and say something so I could see you, please?
So this is Ernie. He's really, he's a really good guy.
Hi. Sorry about that. My daughter was looking for me.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Again, welcome.
And the next piece of new business is charter revision. So Mark, were you going to give us an update on that, or who was going to do that?
Probably one of the keys that tie into 5-pack are really looking at hold on. It was in the Board of Selectmen, January 19th, 2021 meeting, where they made a recommendation to change some of the limits within the charter under
6.1.
correct, 6.1 within those minutes. And they felt for this to be relevant for the next 10 years, they need to increase some of the limits. And we discussed quite a bit of a percentage to budget, but that always came down to, not a real clean definition, because you'd have to choose exactly which budget factor to do the percentage to. So they recommended changing the maximum transfer that was, each transfer shall be limited to a maximum. It was $500 without approval of 5-pack. Board of Selectmen went to 5,000 so that 5-pack would get involved with the bigger transfers. And 25,000, it was 25,000 with the approval of Board of Selectmen and 5-pack. So that was their thought as the Board of Selectmen. And then a maximum, it was at 20,000, a maximum of 50,000 for the current fiscal year, including the Board of Ed, for any agency or department that may be transferring with the approval of Board of Selectmen and 5-pack. So they were just upping the limits. I'm sure there'll be discussion as to what is your thought of what those limits should be before you're brought in. And then they had a lot of discussion on the bid and purchase policy, but that's really under the preview of Board of Selectmen for when we trigger verbal quotes, written quotes, and bids. So they recommending raising those as well. And Bev, anything else that relates to 5-pack and the charter review that you can think of?
Not at the moment. I think the big thing was them to look at the charter at the transfers and whether they want to change the limits and what their recommendation was. I think everything else was okay.
Did we not make a recommendation in our last meeting? I know we discussed all
We
this.
did.
I thought we did.
That was a different issue, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
Well, we
Yeah.
had two issues at the
Yeah,
last
two.
one. One was what Mark just described, and the other one was whether 5-pack members could be on other boards.
Correct.
That's the
And I
one
think what we
Yeah.
said at the end of the last meeting was that we would consider it and come back and talk about what our recommendation was. I'm looking at the
this-
minutes now.
Yeah, the spending limits, I thought we had sort of talked about
They were a little high.
1,000 being more reasonable, and
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we kicked it around, but we didn't make a recommendation. We
that's
did
what, yeah,
make
that
a-
was my question. I wasn't sure if we made a recommendation.
not
You
on this
did not.
issue.
Okay. So
Can we back up?
is it appropriate for us to start doing that before this moves along? At what point do we make our views known outside of the minutes from our meetings?
No, I think we should do it.
Right.
Ernie, I'm probably not doing a good job of running this meeting because I'm supposed to give permission for people to speak, I think. But Ernie, go ahead.
Can we back up? I understand that the numbers are bigger, but what does this change really accomplish? Are we talking about efficiency, or is there something about the process now that 5-pack holds up and therefore we should be pushed a little bit out of the picture? What improvement are we actually making here? Do things get
I
done
think there's,
faster?
I think there's two issues, actually. My feeling is that, I mean, one issue is that if you raise the limits and the numbers, then it would be less of a burden on FIPAC because we wouldn't have to approve so many transfers and other things. But the other question is whether or not it makes sense for the limits to be raised as high as, I mean, from a fiscal point of view, as high as they were talking about. So, Jeff, you were making some gestures.
Personally, I don't see it as a burden. I see it as our job to be physically responsible and make sure that we're watching everything that's going on. I mean, you can throw away a lot of nickels and dimes and they add up to dollars in the long run. So, instead of $500, I can go to $1,000. That might make sense, but I don't think the board, whether it's us or boards going forward, should be abdicating their, I hate to use the word authority, but their job.
So are you suggesting that we don't change numbers at all?
Well, go ahead, Ernie.
Again, I go back to what we're really accomplishing here. I don't disagree with what you just said. One of the things I heard last week was that Bev and Mark might be looking for some way to get some relief out of this because they do a lot of balancing. I'm not sure I see how this change offers them any relief because it doesn't give them the authority to really go over budget at all. So again, their concern is not being addressed no matter how we set the limits. It still has to be approved by somebody. Now, is the real problem that FIPAC doesn't meet as often as the Board of Selectmen, therefore the speed is an issue here? Or again, I'm trying to understand what exactly we're improving by making any change at all. That was the question.
Okay, then can Mark or Bev answer that question?
Yes, Ernie's correct. With you meeting once a month and Board of Selectmen meeting twice, it's easier to get things in front of Board of Selectmen than FIPAC. But Ernie was right on with, I think you have to set a limit where possibly the approval of Bev and I can move small amounts of money to keep budgets in line when you're not actually changing the budget at all. You're moving, often we're moving $100 from a publishing budget to an electric budget or a fuel budget to, we're just, when we start the budget process, it's a educated guess as to what the year will hold. And there's always going to be transfers. And in the small areas where we're just keeping it in balance, I think Bev and I can handle that. It's when you and the Board of Selectmen want to determine what are the limits. Let's say anything over 1,000. From what Board of Selectmen did, they jumped it to 5.
Right.
Now, maybe you might want to say, no, we'll give Mark and Bev full authority up to 1,000, Board of Selectmen up to 2,500, and over 2,500, FIPAC has to be the final say in any transfer. That's just another way to look at it. Because it's the small numbers that aren't.
Ernie, go ahead.
Critical.
Their change doesn't give you any authority, though. Is that something we should address? I have no problem with.
You're correct. Their change did not give Bev and I any authority. You're correct, Ernie. And your recommendation will be looked at separately from Board of Selectmen. And we could bring your ideas back to Board of Selectmen and see if they agree as well and bring it back to Charter Review.
So right now,
Go ahead, Kelly.
can you clarify for me, Mark, if there's a $400 transfer, who approves that today? Because you said it used to be 500 before you needed FIPAC approval. So obviously 400, somebody can approve it other than us.
That's the Board of Selectmen.
That's just Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, but
How it's written.
that the way it's written, it says up to the old way, it was 500 before FIPAC and then 10,000 required Board of Selectmen and FIPAC. So that's not correct. Then if a $300 requires Board of Selectmen, a $700 would require Board of Selectmen and 5-pack. Right?
The way it's
Let me
written.
just, let me get to the actual charter. Hold on.
Okay, anybody else have any thoughts on this? Okay, one of the things that I was thinking, this $500 limit has been in place for, I think, 25, 30 years. And actually, considering inflation, the value of the $500 has probably changed a lot over the years. And I guess I wouldn't have a problem adjusting for inflation, maybe increasing it to 1,500, but I'm not sure if I think it's a good idea to go all the way to 5,000. I would increase it simply to reflect the change in the value of that amount. Okay, anybody else?
I agree with you, Dick. I think I might be able to live with 1,000, but I mean, if somebody can change $4,500 a month without us knowing, that's a substantial change in the budget. Given that our budget isn't that big. I mean, if we had, West Hartford's budget, it might be different, but.
Okay, Brian?
I was just going to reiterate what we talked about last time. At least my feelings on it are that, we go through this whole budget season and we listen to proposals and the way the town's going to be run. And, to be able to do 5,000, you can do several of those and sort of change the way a particular department operates, without us really understanding what it is. We're not up to speed on it. We don't, it could be I'm sure it's there for good reasons, but when we have a little lower limits, at least we have the understanding and we understand how the departments are running. So that's my thought on it.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Anybody else? Judy?
Have we ever not approved a transfer?
No,
I don't think so. I don't remember not approving.
So I always question an approval process that yields 100% yes, as how necessary is it? And I guess the other thought I have is in relation to the size of the budget from when the original limits were set to now. That's, I'm sure, I mean, I don't know what the budget was 25 years ago or even 10 years ago, but I'm sure proportionally the budget has grown pretty dramatically. And moving things around among line items without going into a separate budget, say not moving from Board of Selectmen budget to capital or things like that. I think it's good to give people some flexibility. And I definitely want to be made aware of those, but as I said, if we always have unanimous approval of transfers, I don't know that we need to be monitoring it that closely. I think being very involved in the budget setting process is very important. And giving people flexibility. Looks like Lauren would like to say something.
Okay. Kelly, you had a comment?
I just wanted to speak to the issue of never having not approved. I think both Bev and Mark could attest that I have in the past been pretty upset when I felt we were backed into a corner and had to approve something that I otherwise might have objected to. So I think the fact that they have to come to 5-pack keeps them somewhat on the straight and narrow, and they don't make recommendations of things that they know are unreasonable or wouldn't be approved for the most part. If they had carte blanche to transfer up to $5,000, we don't know if they would be as scrupulous and careful as they are right now. And I'm not talking about Bev and Mark because I have 110% confidence in them. But 5 years from now, we may have different people in charge. And I wouldn't necessarily have as much confidence in them as I do in our current administration. So I think that we have a responsibility to do this, and we should maintain that for the reasons that Brian explained.
Lauren?
So speaking on that, obviously, I don't have much background on this, but I was looking through the minutes and I tend to agree with what Kelly said as far as, although there's 100% passed rate of approving transfers, I think the first thing I think of is, you have lifeboats on a ship. And even though 100% of the time you haven't needed them so far, you still want to have them. And I think that that's kind of like, you still want to have this fail safe as, as far as people taking a look at something. And what Kelly said is, if we raise the limit on that, they might try to slide something, but as of now, they haven't.
Anybody else? Okay, Ernie.
No, you go ahead.
My quick reaction is, and I'm going to react to what Brian said. I think he raised a really, really important point. I think us being involved in these transfers helps us have a better understanding of the money flow in town and what's being spent on what and so on and so on. So I think it's a good idea to keep the amount a lot lower than what was proposed. And I'm thinking $1,000 for the 500 and then a corresponding increase for the other things makes some sense. Okay, Ernie, since you're the real chairman here, I definitely want your input.
No, I agree with you. I think we seem to be trending toward $1,000. I really haven't heard anybody say there's any good reason to raise those other higher limits like 10,000 and 20,000. And I'm not sure I'd ever be in favor of touching those.
No.
I would be in favor. I don't think we should lose sight of Bev and Mark's concerns, and maybe if we can discuss a little bit, and I hope agree that maybe there should be some discussion about giving them some authority so that they can do their daily job a little more efficiently. That's it.
I would definitely agree with that.
And
Yeah, I think that would be the,
Jeff, go ahead.
yeah, I think that would be up to the selectmen to give them more authority. All we're doing is allowing money to be moved. Don't they get the authority from the selectmen?
Well, they need it from the charter too.
Yeah.
Can I
Go
make a
ahead,
motion, Dick?
Go ahead.
So I would propose that we recommend to the Charter Commission that transfers under $1,000 can be made by the finance director, the town administrator, and the board, the chairman or the first selectman. And
Well,
then
I think
anything
the
above 1,000 would require 5-pack approval, and that we leave the 5-pack and Board of Selectmen approval at 10,000.
I'll second that.
Jen, do you need me to repeat it?
Do you want to, you didn't refer to the Board of Selectmen, you referred to the first selectman.
Right.
Mark, isn't it the Board of Selectmen that makes these decisions, not the first selectman?
I know, but we were talking about changing that so that it isn't just the Board of Selectmen.
I'm confused, Kelly.
But you can change that.
Kelly, I think what he's saying is the language that you use says it's just Bev, Mark, and Steve, and that's it. But it's really Bev, Mark, and the board. I think that's what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
that
was
is exactly what I'm
intentionally,
saying.
yes, I was intentionally changing it so that Bev and Mark would have more flexibility, as Ernie suggested.
Ernie, what do you think?
I'm confused.
Can I say something? Can I? So right now with the transfers, between Mark and me, we're the ones who set up or present what needs to be transferred to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen now, when it goes to them for approval, they have up to $500. So they meet twice a month, so that's not really holding us up. So you could probably keep the procedure as is. We just try to give them, a few at a time, not like here's $10 here, at one meeting. And, we try to make sure it's worth having a meeting to do transfers. So we're not really tied down. I think what the Board of Selectmen wants is a higher limit on the transfers before it goes to 5-pack. And then again, the ones where it's 10,000 that needs 5-pack and Board of Selectmen rule, anything over 10 has to go to a town meeting. And then there's a max per budget line of 20 per charter. So I think the Board of Selectmen wanted to raise that max per line, not that we've ever exceeded it. We always managed to keep it within that line. So that's the difference. I mean, the other difference is Board of Ed, but that's a totally different thing. That's not line item, it's bottom line. So, but I think the Board of Selectmen just wants to raise limits to try to, based on, I guess, inflation. That's it.
Okay, Ernie, you raised your hand.
No, I wonder if we really need a motion here or if we should handle this the way we did last week. I think we've reached a consensus. Mark passed the minutes over to the Charter Revision Commission. Do we need to vote or can we just sort of verbally say we're leaning toward $1,000 more authority for Mark and Bev somehow and not touching the upper limits?
Fine with that.
Yeah,
Brian?
makes sense.
Well, that's what we had talked about earlier. If we needed something that was more directive, and I thought that the decision was that we should, you know, as far as a recommendation, not simply just imposing the minutes, but to have something that clearly states this is what we think. That's all. So I don't know if that means a motion, or if there's any other way to do that. A letter. I don't know what the.
Well, we can do a motion. I'm not objecting.
I think. Well, my opinion is that I think if we're stating our opinion to someone who's going to make a decision on what happens, then I think it should be more than just reading our minutes. That's all.
I agree.
I agree.
I mean, it remains a recommendation in that we don't have the final say. So,
Right. Yeah.
If
We don't
our-
make. Yeah. We don't make. Yeah.
Right.
That committee is going to take care of that.
yeah,
But
so if we have a motion that that clearly states our recommendation, that at least is clear.
yes, I think that's a little more solid than just hope you read the minutes.
Yes, so let's just repeat what the motion would be. Kelly, are you okay? You made the motion. Are you okay with just changing it to raising the limit on?
Right. So
five-
raising the limit for 5-pack approval from 500 to 1,000 and leaving the other limits in place as they are is our recommendation.
Any other, Jeff?
I'm just going to second that motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, and you can just raise your hand. Okay. Mark, can you forward this recommendation from us to the Charter Revision?
Hey,
Yes.
Dick, did the motion pass?
It'll be
The
in the
motion passed,
minutes,
sorry, the motion passed.
and I'll bring it to the charter review.
Okay. That's why you should be the chair, Ernie.
No, you're doing fine.
Okay, the next issue regarding, and again, it's charter revision, is whether or not members of 5-pack can serve on other committees or boards. And we had a discussion about that last time. And we didn't come to a conclusion, but one of my thoughts, I mean, one of the things I remember about it was that the thought was that members of 5-pack should be able to serve on other boards and committees but they should not be able to chair those boards or committees.
You got it.
And as someone who has been on those boards, and I've had time to think about it, I've been on 3 or 4 different boards, and 2 of them I had to resign when I got on 5-pack. I think it's a good idea because I think it allows us to bring some knowledge about what happens on the boards before 5-pack when we have to make a decision about stuff. So I think it would be a good idea to recommend to charter revision that the charter be changed so that 5-pack members can be on different boards. Okay, any comment or any questions?
I agree.
I agree.
Make a motion.
Okay, someone make a motion.
I will. I move that we recommend to the Charter Revision Commission that 5-pack, the charter be amended to allow 5-pack members to serve on unelected boards in the town
And committees.
and committees, boards and committees, sorry, in town.
Second.
Brian?
Should we add to that the not sharing? Because I think that that still is important.
Yes, add that they can serve on the
And without,
boards, commissions, and committees without being a chair or vice chair of those committees.
okay,
Okay,
I'll make that my motion.
I'll second the amended motion.
okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, motion passes. Jeff got 2 votes. I'm trying to figure out, Mark's not here at the moment. Jennifer, can you relay this motion and what we said to charter revision for us? What
Yes.
our recommendation was? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And if anybody has any questions about on charter revision, they can contact Ernie. Okay, let's move on. Discussion and approval of Robinson parcel purchase. So, Mark, Robinson parcel purchase.
All right, so this is a parcel owned by Belle Robinson. Belle is a very adorable member of Columbia. She's 98 years old. And I got to meet her the other day. We had the property appraised. It's a almost 12-acre parcel in the middle of Wells Woods, in between a property we now own and another privately owned property right on Wells Woods Road, the old logging road. And it appraised for $24,000, which is in line with the other 2 or 3 properties that have been purchased now in Wells Woods. And it's a piece that would provide us connectivity with other parcels. So the Board of Selectmen have voted to purchase this property. The slight change from the other properties is that the state right now is in a bit of disarray. Normally, we would have partnered with the state and they would have paid for a portion of this property with the federal gas and mining funds that they receive that are to be used. This is a tax on federal mining operations that are used to purchase open space. And they can't get their act together for such a small piece of property. So they asked us to just purchase it. And at a later date, we would transfer it into the Monopond State Park and they would pay us. But the nuance was that it can't be purchased with open space money because then it would already be protected and there'd be no reason for the state to partner with us and pay a portion. So the recommendation was to use general fund money at this time, buy the property, and then at a later date, possibly with some other properties, we formalize it with the state into the Monopond State Park. So that's how the motion was constructed that's before you.
Any questions? Brian?
All right, I'm very active today.
That's good.
What is I would just be curious about the commitment side from the state. Is there something binding that says that at a later date we can do this, or is this like a verbal agreement? What's the,
It's more of a verbal agreement. The state's committed to making this 1,000-acre state park and be a partner with Columbia. This is such a teeny parcel that it wasn't, the main woman we work with was promoted and the office is vacant at the moment. So there's no one to really talk to. And Trust for Public Land is really not involved at this time. So the Board of Selectmen weren't concerned as much because the price of the property wasn't that high, that if we continue to own it, just like the Mint Brook Preserve, which used to be called Oberlander, I think. We own that as well. So now we'll have 2 parcels to negotiate with the state with. The upside, if we never sell it to the state, is that if the state doesn't allow camping and we want to make this our campground within the state park and we own it, we can do that. So it gives us
all 11 acres?
Right. It could be the 11-acre Boy Scout, Girl Scout campground with lean-tos, because you wouldn't be allowed to put a structured property on open space. So
Mark, I know that parts of Wells Wood is a watershed for Columbia Lake. Is this particular parcel part of the watershed area?
I'm not sure on that, Dick.
Okay.
Not positive.
Kelly?
So I've like 3 questions, Mark. Is this developable land? So could it otherwise, is it landlocked? Is it swamp? I mean, or is it?
It is land that could be purchased by the neighbor who does own a considerable portion of land, Mr. Kasika.
Mhm.
So this butts up to him. And so if he wanted to add it to his property, he could. Otherwise, there really wouldn't be another buyer since now it's starting to be surrounded by state park land.
Is that the guy with the never-ending construction?
On his one property?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, he has a very large house in the middle of his property.
And
Go ahead, Kelly.
so the amount of the purchase, 24,000, would we ordinarily be able to approve this without a town meeting if it weren't for the pandemic?
No, without the pandemic, you would have to go to the town meeting. And there has to be an urgency reason. And right now, that reason is that the seller is 98 years old.
Okay. And so my last question is, I was troubled by the fact that it was coming out of our undesignated fund rather than open space, but I think open space will need to understand that when we come to budget next month or so, they may end up getting less if we're going to take this money out of undesignated fund for an open space project. I understand your reasons why we're doing it this way. At first I was going to object on that grounds, but now that I understand the reason, I accept it. But I think that we should be mindful that this is really an open space expenditure. So we should be mindful of that when we do open space funding in the budget next season, this season. So that was just a comment, not a question. That's it.
So Mark, you're saying that we have a verbal agreement to get reimbursed by the state. Is that 100% reimbursement?
50%.
50% reimbursement, okay.
Right.
Jeff?
Yeah, I've got just a little bit of a wrench to throw at you here. I really think even if we approve it, we should run it through open space. I don't think letting the state have any parts of it. There's a big push up at the Capitol for statewide zoning, and that's to put low-income housing in and elderly housing in places. And you're talking about a state park now that, the state could walk in and say, you know what, you're going to put a low-income housing there because you can put 100 units in. You've got a good aquifer for wells. And if we go down the dirt road in the Hebron, we can tie into their sewer system. So, I'd be careful about what's going on down there with what's going on up at the state and the push to get a lot of the housing and a lot of stuff out of the cities. So just a thought, if you're paying attention. Go ahead, Ernie.
If I can say, what's the old main saying? You can't get there from here. There are no roads down there. I would think the cost to
Yeah,
get a usable road to this property would defeat anybody with any common sense from building anything.
yeah, I agree with you.
But if it's the
I
state,
agree too.
we know they don't have any common sense. All right, so the state.
Oh,
could
it costs
do
a
something
lot
like
of
this.
money.
They don't care.
Okay, one more quick thing is, I know that purchasing the land in this area has been a goal of the town and a goal of the Open Space Committee for a long time. So I think it's a good purchase. Brian?
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that. I'm just curious. I know, does Gene Kasika, does he have interest in the property? You know, do we know if he's been trying to negotiate with the seller? I mean,
He has not.
if he has not, then I would be inclined to. If he were, then, I mean, like Kelly said, in a normal circumstances, this is something that the town would have to talk about. I wouldn't want to undercut him if he had an interest in it. Maybe I would. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I think we would need to be discussed further if that was a situation. That's all.
Good point.
Yeah,
Mark, any response to that?
Yes, Gene has not reached out to us and has not voiced any interest in the property.
Does he have a CO yet?
I don't think it's complete, his structure.
Okay, any more comments or discussion?
What's the hurry, Ernie?
Nope.
Me?
Unless you're repeating yourself, go ahead.
Yeah, no. All right.
No, I wasn't like looking for attention. I
Ernie.
was looking.
Yeah.
Have a map. No, I've been the most skeptical when it comes to this whole idea of buying property. You heard me in the past speak against it. Given what the trust for, what was it, Mark? Trust for Public Land?
Yes,
The guys that were raising money and getting grants and all that, given what they've accomplished, I think it makes sense for us to just go ahead and do this. Given where we want to be and given that doing it this way gives us some flexibility, even if we wind up paying full price for this small piece, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
there's a
Well, do
written
we have to
motion in
address-
here.
I'm sorry?
Do we have to read the resolution like we did
You
last
could say
time?
as presented if you'd like.
I move we
Do you have
accept
a
the
resolution?
resolution as presented.
Hold on a second. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes, do you
Anybody?
want me to read it?
Just go down to resolved. I wonder if there's a typo. Committee approves the appropriation, the sum. Does OF go in there? The appropriation of the sum?
No, they said the appropriation is some of, anyway.
Yeah,
Appropriation.
it would be appropriates or of,
Appropriation of the sum of.
yeah. Yeah, or appropriates the sum of, one
Right.
or the other. You got to pick one or the other.
Yeah, either way, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay, or appropriates.
The
the
sum of.
sum of.
That reads a little better, I think.
I agree. Good catch, Ernie.
How you want to read it that way? If you don't, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can you read it that way?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, let's leave it that way. And we need I think we have a motion now. So do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, passed unanimously. Okay, the next agenda item is transfers. Bev, we have several transfers, right?
Yes, we have 3 transfers tonight. The first one is total of $7,206 coming from, we're gonna take it from the legal services line and moving it to the professional tech line for lake management. It's to help pay for the engineering and consulting fees for the Columbia Lake Siphon project, which involves measuring the measure the lake depth and volume, as well as mapping the bottom of the lake. Mark can give you a little more details on this project. If you want to go through that now, Mark.
Sure. It was due to the problems we're having due to these bizarre weather summers we're having with cyanobacteria, which you really shouldn't swim in. And they're thinking a cause of it is due to the inversion of the lake and the water at the bottom where the cyanobacteria grows, and then the lake inverts and the cyanobacteria comes up. And our limnologist, Dr. Cortman, recommended that if you siphon from the bottom of the lake instead of letting it spill over the spillway, you might suck this contaminated bacteria out before the inversion of the lake. So this is a big project. We're trying to get our arms around it, whether it's even possible. And the first step in the project was to map the depth, because that's the key part of the engineering this, where the deepest part of the lake is. So LMAC and now Board of Selectmen have approved this expenditure that wasn't budgeted, but we can't get to a engineered estimate till we had this first component. So it's a chicken and an egg, and we've gone forward, but now we need your blessing.
Okay. And before we move on to the next transfer, Lauren, this is what we were talking about earlier, where FIPAC has to approve money above a certain level for different purposes. So there's two other transfers. Why don't we vote on all three at once? Bev, you want to go on to the next one?
Okay, the next one is a transfer of $3,000 from the group insurance line to contracted services for the rec area operations. With COVID going on, they've increased the cleaning of the porta potties, and as well as making sure they maintain them around town so people at the rec areas have places to go when needed. So we found that we don't have enough in the budget line to get us through the rest of the year. So we're requesting $3,000 to be transferred. And then the last transfer is $550 from the Recreation Department salary line to the professional tech line in recreation, so that the rec director can go attend a conference to recertify himself to be a playground safety inspector.
And that conference will be virtual. These licenses that are required, both the aquatic and the playground licenses, are expensive.
Okay, any questions or comments on the transfers? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the transfers as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, pass unanimously.
Wait a second, we weren't supposed to pass that for Judy.
Lauren, before we go, I mean, we're going to be adjourning shortly, but before we do you have any questions or comments as a newbie to this?
I think it's just, I've been kind of taking down notes of things that I want to pay attention to. I think it's just going to be a matter of, like Brian said earlier, there's a lot to take in and a lot to learn. And so I'm just trying to kind of pay attention, and I'll definitely speak up if I have anything specific that I need to know more about. And Kelly's offered to help me, kind of understand things too.
Don't listen too much to Kelly.
Yes, you have to get another opinion then.
Well, anyway, welcome to the committee. We're very pleased to have you, and looking forward to meeting you in person when we can get back to our regular meetings. So, before we adjourn, I mean, the next meeting is going to be March 17th. 7 o'clock. Before we adjourn, is there anybody that wants to say anything else?
Nick, are you gonna wear a green hat?
Yeah,
Sure,
St.
Patrick's
Patty's
Day.
Day.
Oh, is March 17th is St. Patty's Day?
Yes.
Yes.
You didn't know that, huh?
Although I think the chairman should wear the green hat.
Okay, but are we getting our budget presentations at that meeting? Is it gonna be a tri-board or just us? Mark,
Stuff.
Mark?
Just BiPAC.
Just 5-pack.
but we're gonna hear from Board of Ed and Board of Selectmen. They're gonna give us their budget presentations at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
You'll get the documents ahead of time within the week before, so you can review
Okay.
them for the presentation.
okay, good, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nice job running the meeting, Dick.
Jeff, Dick.
Thank you. Not as good as Ernie would have done, but I'm glad Ernie's here.
I think you should do it next time.
Okay, meeting adjourned, and be safe, everybody.
You too.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
8:06.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.